Welcome to Collector's Corner, the premier digital art platform.
We help collectors gain and maintain their edge, all while appreciating beautiful art.
Let's jump in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cornering the Market, episode 51. Today is Thursday, October 12th. It'll be the 13th by the time this airs. My name is P. You may know me online as Astum, joined by my great friend and co-host, Jared. How are you doing today, Jared?
Dude, I'm living the dream. We didn't record last week, taking a break from that momentous 50th episode. But overall excited, man. I've been quiet about a few things with 8nap, but hopefully we'll have the first artist announcement in the coming weeks and getting everything else lined up. So I should mention the allow list for mint passes has expired and it's available for public mint. So if you have any interest in a 8nap art pass, just go to 8nap.art and you can mint your pass for 1 ETH direct from the website right now.
All right, we'll go to 8nap.art to check that out. And as folks who are on YouTube can probably tell, we are back to a video episode. We did a Twitter Spaces episode, and Jared, I'm sure there's more conversation. You and I haven't even talked about this, but it felt like it took away from folks who could really see the art. It's just really hard to do the art without video, an art show. It's hard for me to go back. So we're back on video. We're also going to have our newsletter as we have continued to do so. The newsletter is direct to your inbox, 5 minutes. Take a look at it. Subscribe to it if you like it. Share it with friends if you like it even more. We put some stories in there that we can't fit during this podcast, and it's very popular, closing in on 1,000 subscribers there. And this is our Twitter handle. Please give us a follow if you enjoy this. We really appreciate it. This is Jared's Twitter handle. He's the 8nap art founder, as you mentioned there. And here is that mint pass. So you can find the link through his Twitter. And this is me, Aston. I also have a service called Collector's Corner Premium, where we are having a great, it's going really gangbusters, honestly, because I got a bunch of people in, and I guess I'll just announce it here. So I'm doing a free month of Collector's Corner Premium. It's normally $100 a month, but if you want to check it out for a month, see if it's worth it. Even if it's not, come in, check it out. If you leave, no big deal. More the merrier. Honestly, the community is growing. It's going really great. We're having fantastic conversations in the Discord, and I put out content specific for that. And we have a weekly call where we just chat about stuff. But really, the conversation in there is fantastic. And I got to say, Jared, I think it's a testament to community. And I'm very much looking forward to your 8nap art community as that emerges. Because I know you'll be doing interesting and great things there as well.
Yeah, and as I will say, as for Collector's Corner Premium, as a paying member, it's one of the Discords I enjoy going to. So if you're on the fence, ask him up on his one free month. I think you will be surprised with how just fun of a place it is. It's a community that's committed to it, and the conversation is very dynamic and diverse in perspectives. It's been really fun.
Yeah. I've been really impressed by it, and it's only heating up. I have many ideas for how we can keep organizing info, stay on top of the art, understand this world better. It was originally much more investor focused, but it feels less now. But we're really finding some of the best art and learning a ton. Learning art history too. So I'm really enjoying it. I just wanted to put that out there, and send me a DM if you are interested in joining. Okay, all of that out of the way. Let's jump into, I'm going to switch over to my Twitter. Let's do a vibe check, Jared. What is the vibe you are seeing right now in the market?
I'm a little bit, I'll call it depressed on the vibe from the last couple weeks. Not any particular reason. There's some highlights, and we'll talk about those in the coming segments. But overall, I think that given the global conflict and ETH dropping a bit, there's just a bit of trepidation to jump into the market right now. So I'm still long-term bullish, and just I'll call it in the next short term, maybe define that as 2 to 6 to 8 weeks. I'm just watching it and deploying ETH in a very strategic fashion rather than being a little bit more frivolous with what I'm collecting. So cautious optimism, but more so, that's kind of been the sentiment for the last couple months, but more on the cautious side than I have been in the past.
Gotcha. I'm glad we're talking about this because I have not been paying too much attention to outside news. As you know, I've been busy trying to get a few projects across the finish line. So we were talking about, I'm talking about my taxes. That's why I'm laughing. So I haven't been focused as much on it. Obviously, I know hear about what's going on. It's terrible, and it's like just you hate to see all of that, and obviously that puts a damper on everything. And also have been ignoring the crypto prices a bit. I know that they're not doing super well. I think that we're probably looking at really getting Bitcoin above 30,000 sustained, probably not till next year now. I was really surprised. I thought it was going to happen this year. But I don't think the market truly turns around until then, certainly not from a liquidity standpoint. But there has been really, really great art coming out and really great progress. And that's really, for me, I guess I've just been paying more attention to that. And that's helped. We're going to talk about some of these collections like Winds of Yawanawa, Because Until, the most recent art blocks curated, some cool stuff. And then the news that the MoMA has now accepted 2 NFTs for the first time into their permanent collection. So we'll talk about that too. So I think you're right. I mean, certainly from a market standpoint, things aren't great, but there are collections that are going well, and excitement on the art side that really doesn't have to do with prices or markets, which is nice to see as well. But let's hop right in. In the Ethereum generative art side, Jared, what are you seeing here over the last 7 days?
Yeah, so I would say nothing crazy. Again, no big sales. There's no glyphs or fidenzas, but overall, I mean, you'll see like Winds of Yawanawa, and we'll talk about this later, is the clear breakout favorite in the market right now. Fontana 291 sold, which was beautiful. I think there was just recently, like this morning, a lot of gazers were sold into WETH bids. So you're seeing an uptick in gazer sales there. A pretty attractive price point there. If you've been looking at it, it's flirting with single to double digit, line in the sand there. But something that like really caught my attention was there's been a flurry of Subscape sales in the last couple of days, and I think that if you're a big Matt Delorier fan, there's a really attractive price point here. You're seeing a real big deviation between meridians and subscapes, in my opinion, just if you're purely looking at the floor. But there was a rare drift trait that sold for 12 WETH, I believe. So like that was a fun one to see overall. But there's been a couple over the last days. I think one was a private sale for a multicolored one that was like a super rare trait. I forget what it's called, but overall, there's some clear. We'll talk about the squiggles later on, but Velocity Pass had a lot of volume, and so did Winds and Yawanawa. Those are the clear shiny objects of the week for the time being.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other one that stood out was Singularity. By the way, I think that these are amazing. Those are the other 2 sales that I thought were amazing. A couple really rare ones were sold out of, I believe, on Misi's wallet. So really, really cool to see that some of those rare singularities trading hands.
Yeah, the only first of all, thank you. That was an amazing overview. The only other collection I want to point out here is Life in West America, because it had some just really weird price action, honestly. We had a bunch of them sell below 4 Ether, most of them to wrapped ETH bids, but they didn't seem to be getting relisted because the floor just kind of jumped up, and the last holdout just sold earlier today, and the floor jumped up to 5.8. And I guess this person is trying to flip, but this one, oh, not really. They minted this, so it seems like we might be seeing a redistribution into longer term hands, or at least people are not immediately relisting at the floor to try to take a little bit of profit, which to me is bullish, generally speaking. But I don't want to talk too early, but it kind of feels like the collections that people are really wanting to survive into the next bull run, or our favorites in the next bull run are being identified right now. I think people are kind of raising their hands and saying, hey, this is the one. And Subscapes, wow, I mean, 3.8 ETH. There was a time where these easily had a higher floor than Meridian. Meridian's almost 2x'd it now, which is, kind of crazy to see. But fantastic market update there on the Ethereum side. If I don't stop talking, we'll just keep going. So let's head over to the Tezos side, taking a look at fxhash. A slow week over here, which is not surprising given the broader sentiment, as you said. I think new collections are getting some attention, especially from big name artists. But beyond that, we're not seeing a ton of volume here. And this is one of the lower volume weeks, I'd say. I mean, 3.2 thousand secondary volume is the highest of any collection. And then, we tail off pretty quickly below 1,000 here. Nice to see actually a bit of a rotation to some different artists. Kim Assendorf has been hot for a couple of weeks across all of his collections, but also Studio Yorktown, as you mentioned. We'll see a couple notes there. But any notable sales here that you want to point out from the last couple of weeks, Jared?
Our boy Dirtus swept a bunch of the charcoal seed tickets. That's what's really driving that volume. So I think that it's kind of like fictitiously high. Congrats to Dirtus for getting all those tickets. But at the same time, I just for me, I love Tezos art. I really do. It seems somewhat stale, and I think it largely, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it as in like, there's not a lot of attention and new stuff coming. So I don't think there's a lot of eyes coming to the projects, or at least to the platform, because I think people realize that like Tezos is down, it's like what, like between 60 and 70 cents. And, when you're minting stuff for, even like 10 to 60 Tez, which is kind of the average minting price, or at least the starting point, there's not a lot of incentive at this time. So, but on the flip side, I mean, our boy Blockbird had two really great Tesseract pickups, and I think that rotation into some beautiful art, like that one for 1,000, is like crazy beautiful and rare. Tesseract 472. I think that's a positive sign. Like when I see somebody like Blockbird picking up an older project like that, it's a signal to me that there's still great art out there, and if you are willing to look at it long term, not just this like myopic weekly update, but long term, stack away, man. There's just, you and I can talk about till we're blue in the face. Zancan's a deal. Dragons are a deal. I mean, we're starting to see like some really great, again, not financial advice, but just some really great opportunities if you believe in the platform and the blockchain long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And one that I want to note here that I'm showing on screen, not on fxhash, but on Tezos, is Monogrid by Kim Assendorf. I think just crazy underpriced relative to the cargo, which really has shot up to, I think it got as high as a 2 ether floor. It's retraced some now, probably around 1.5. But these are the OG. These are the originator of that style, and a lot of people actually are not aware of them, but clearly some people are. 4 of them picked up here. So I think we're seeing some selective Grail Tezos buying from some collectors who are, really savvy. And we know that Blockbird had recently sold a bunch of his Ethereum works to Lerandom, and including a Spiral Fidenza. So I'm sure he is looking to pick up some stuff that he finds interesting. And on your Studio Yorktown point, I think it's really great. There was a tweet that you shared with me actually from Chris, or maybe I can't remember it. Chris from Flamingo DAO, Blockstar, he goes by, talking about collections that are really, really good deals. Not the top collections that everyone kind of knows about, Squiggles, Anticyclone, whatever, but let's call it the next tier. And it's not clear which one of those will survive. And probably because of that, they are getting very cheap, like Tesseract. I mean, Tesseract is one you've been in my ear about for a long time, justifiably so. And it just really hasn't broken above like that 5. I think it's Studio Yorktown's best work, in my opinion. So I think maybe that's some of what we're seeing here.
And it's funny, I saw the tweet about this too, but like with Monogrid, somebody literally, because there's no such thing as wrapped Tez, right? Somebody literally went in and put a bid on every single Monogrid.
It was Lerandom.
22. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
For 2250, Tez, and like A, that's a huge commitment for the entire collection, but B, like the floor shot up to 4 or 5,000 Tez, like 4,400 Tez. I think it's, again, not to belabor the point, but the point is like, to segue off of what you were saying about block stars, if you have a long enough perspective and you're committed to like some of the art, there's really good opportunities and potential for some asymmetric upside if you're able to collect those pieces. Look, I've loved Tesseract for a while. I'm obviously very biased in the statement, but to see Blackbird pick up some of these rare ones, it was almost like vindication of like, hey, there is great art. Yes, you don't have to spend 10, 15, $20,000. I mean, 1,000 Tez at 63 cents. That's $630. I mean, that's incredible to pick up a rare piece from a collection. And even now, like 4,400 Tez for a monogrid. I mean, I can't do the math in my head, but like, that's only
you
like
don't have to pay that much though.
$2,600.
You don't have to pay that. Look, the offers are being accepted in the 2,500 Tezos range, right? So, I mean, one here was, I mean, this was crazy. One for 287 Tez. I don't even know what happened there. But this one here for 22, I mean, I can't do the math right now, but I think it's something like what, $1,500, something along those lines. It's not even, it's one ether, right? It's one ether for our this is the Genesis collection of this style. This is his first one, and I actually think
I mean, even if you paid the floor price of 4,400, it's $2,700, right? Like, so that's basically the price of a cargo for, like you said, his Genesis collection. Not to belabor a point here, I think it's just the observation is in aligned with what Blockstar was saying. Is this, there's opportunities for it, and to me, seeing Dirtis and Blackbird be able to like pick these up, it's an affirmation that like, and again, you sell a spiral Fidenza and then you rotate in $600 into Tezos. It's obviously not, from a risk standpoint, it's like it's not a substantial portion of the portfolio, obviously, but to Block Star's point, like there's some stuff flying under the radar, and as an art collector, there could be opportunities if you choose to deploy on ETH and Tez, not just Tez. So
yeah, 100%. And the last thing I'll say on this is that it almost feels like the market is resetting, right? Because everything is down. You can't really rely on price action as an indicator of quality, but in some ways that's nice because you can just go see what you like. Just look at stuff maybe that is not at the upper tier, but the next tier or even a tier below that, and be like, what really speaks to me? And you can collect it at quite a reasonable price and have much less risk than a completely unknown artist or an unknown collection. I mean, people remember these collections, so in some ways it's nice because it gets you back to the basics, and it feels like that's what Blockbird's doing, and I mean, makes me want to do it too, for sure. But let's head over to one of the blue chips, Chromie Squiggles. What's been going on in the last week here, or 2 weeks, however far back you went?
Well, we didn't do an update last week. Last week I was on a normal high. Like we saw a rotation into one of the mathematical fulls to a collector. So it's cool to me to see Yamamoto releasing these back out into the wild and allowing others to collect around it. And then we get hit with this week, which is probably the lowest week of 7-day volume I've seen in a long, long time. It's a 97.74. I can't tell you the last time I've seen it in double-digit 7-day volume. The good news is, even though there's only 9 sales on the week, the floor price is kind of, people are coming in buying the floor. So it's down from 2 weeks ago from 9.69 to 9.6. I do have a little bit of a concern. You're starting to see a lot more listed, and a lot more is like it's over 2% versus like in the 1% typically. I was looking at the chart late last night, really trying to like figure out where it's going, but I can tell you I'm helping somebody negotiate an over 100 ETH deal right now for exclusively Squiggles, helping another person try to like seek out a day zero that for their long-term personal hold. So the interest is still there, just for whatever reason that you did not see the sales this week. But I mean, you have the chart up on screen, that 10 ETH line in the sand, it's been creeping down on it. It's a little bit more dire if you flip it over to the USD chart. Again, this is just floor place, but I think it's indicative of it. Like, I'm looking for a good rebound. I'm not particularly, in that 15K region. Just not seeing it right now, but we'll see. On a more positive note, I mentioned it, 26 ETH mathematical full last week. I think overall, like you saw an 18 ETH sale of a bold, this week. I thought that was really cool to see. There was also a 10.5 WETH sale for a color spread 11. That, it was a beautiful low color spread. What was really convincing to me is I know the seller, they rotated that into a punk to get their dream punk, and have the conviction to come back with more liquidity into the squiggle market. So that being said, I think people the conviction's still there. I'm trying to scratch my head as to why the low volume week. And the cool thing that's really convincing to me is, again, on OpenSea, there's 2 listed lower on Looks Rare, but on OpenSea, you have a bid ask spread of 9 versus 9.6. So it is still incredibly tight. Oh, look. Oh, yeah. That's Looks Rare on there. So that being said, still deals. I think that there's a really beautiful slinky 8781 at about 11 ETH for anybody interested. It's a low color spread, beautiful, beautiful spectrum. If you go down one more, P right there. And then one that I'm really trying to wrap my head around, Trill listed a couple, but there's a day 0 bold for 32 ETH, number 149. I think it's a little bit high on the price, but they don't come up very often. Like, this is a rare piece. So, to be able to take a run at it could be really interesting. You're starting to see opportunity where maybe in the past there hadn't been opportunity. So in that case, I'm optimistic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's some, there's always the other side of the coin is when things are not as hot in the market, there are good opportunities on things that you feel good about long term. Like I keep seeing this fuzzy here, Jared. Like, somebody please buy this. I mean, 14 ETH, you could probably get it for less, but my God, that's like one of the best fuzzies I've in
Yeah,
my
it's a
opinion,
dope
it's out
fuzzy.
there. It's
Yeah.
better than some hyper fuzzies. Just kidding. Hyper normals. I take it over some hyper normals. But I think my only comment on this is I wonder if this week has a lot to do with the war and just the general negativity that comes with that kind of I don't know, I guess just like seeing humanity like that. I think right, 'cause there's so much right now in the markets is unsteady, and we're trying to make predictions without a lot of history or data. And I think your current state of mind can project positively or negatively into the future. I don't know if that's what's happening, but I do wonder if that's part of it. But certainly some folks are able to get their forever pieces like the punk holder you just mentioned. So there's always some good happening at the same time. And not exactly great, but not terrible either is on the friendship bracelet side. So we can take a look here at some 7-day volume. We had well, actually down from when I last checked, 5.6 ether in volume versus 4.7 last time. Both are relatively low. Floor price has been steady, 0.078. It was 0.075 the last time we checked. 64 sales versus 51. Listings are down to 1,006, almost into the triple digits, down from 1,088. So down 82 from the last time we checked. And it really feels like friendship bracelets are finding a floor to me. It's kind of boring, I would say, but we'll see what happens when something actually emerges, a real catalyst, I should say. But the floor is thin. I know it'll thicken up when sales start happening. A lot of people, I'm sure, just have listings that expired, but the chart it really looks like we've come all the way back down and retrace that whole trip up, both in Ethereum US dollar terms. So, but people want to hold on and see what happens. So I'm excited for that opportunity as well. Let's hop over to some release recaps. Those are some great market updates. You can tell Jared and I haven't caught up because we had a lot on our minds. The first I want to talk about is Winds of Yawanawa by Rafik Anadol. So Winds of Yawanawa, this was an interesting collection. It released for 2,500 US dollars in different tranches over the past few months, and they are just revealing now. So it's different than a lot of stuff that we normally see, in the sense that it was a slow release and also a slower reveal. But they got as high as 10 ether pre-reveal, and now as they've been revealing, people are really liking them. And paradoxically, or I should say perhaps uncommonly, the floor price has shot up a little bit after the reveal. Part of this is also Rafiq's unsupervised getting into the MoMA, which we'll talk about here. But wanted to get your thoughts and takeaways on this one, Jared.
Again, I've helped advise a few people on this. I'm very bullish on Rafiq in general, and I think this is a great entry point into the collection for those who can't afford the one of ones. You know, I say that largely because, you know, the group over at One of One did a spaces where they were talking about traditional art lenders will only lend against Rafiq and Beeple at this point. And I think that to me is just a testament of Rafiq's respect within the community, and especially from a financialization tool. That's one data point. The other point is, look, when he's on the first resident artist on that dome in Vegas, when his work sits at the MoMA forever, or for a long period, I won't say forever, when his work is featured in the Grammys or at LAX, and people, you know, the commentary is about people stopping and just taking it in. That means there's something emotional about it, and his work is connecting with a lot of people. So I think that this is a very interesting long-term play, and I think it's one that you know, kudos to what Rafiq has done. It's in addition to not only his reputation within the art world, but just the work is very beautiful. And, you know, kudos to him. Congrats on I mean, this is a big deal to be able to be in the permanent collection at the MoMA as a natively digital artist. Huge milestone for us. You know, a little bit ho-hum on the introduction, but these are the things that to me give me the conviction long term. Like, there are artists, the greater art world is embracing it, and you know, we're still early to be able to have the opportunity to collect something out of wins. It's just such a really interesting time, and I'm super bullish on this project in particular.
Yeah, and I've really been on the ground here on this one. So full disclosure, I own two of these. I've been tracking them for a while. I was skeptical about how are 1,000 pieces that all have motion going to look unique, but he did it in a way that actually a lot of generative artists do it. In that the colors brought the variety here, the different palettes, and I don't know if we have name palettes. The metadata reveals on Friday, and the way that this works is really by midday Friday, all of them will have revealed. We got 300 coming out today on Thursday, and then another 200 tomorrow. So then we'll really get a sense of, okay, what does the full collection look like? And you know, folks are speculating that once the full collection is out, people will really start collecting so they can figure out what they want, especially the folks who are not price sensitive and really just want to own one. But I've been really excited about this because it feels like a marquee collection from, to your point, perhaps the artist or one of two artists who has made the most headway into the mainstream art world and really the mainstream cultural world, right? A lot of people know about people who are not, you know, necessarily traditional art aficionados, and Rafiq being on the Sphere and the Grammys, his art was in the background of the Grammys. That is a lot more mainstream than just the people who decide to go to art museums. And so it feels like there might even be some overthinking of this project. They're like, well, it looks like all this other stuff. I'm like, yo, people, this person is in the MoMA's permanent collection. This is what every NFT artist has been dreaming of for years. And he finally did it. He's the first one to do it. And, you know, we'll talk about that, but and it's really beautiful aesthetics. And talking about a generative art collection, 1,000 of them, they all look unique. In my opinion, they all look good. That's really hard to do. And what's especially hard to do with AI art, they all clearly have the same theme. Then you throw in the story, the nature themes. I don't know. I just feel like people are overthinking this. This to me is a stunning collection from one of the top artists, and I think that you're seeing that in the price action. It's a bear market, and this is bucking the trend, and it's bucking the trend of things going down after reveal. So I couldn't be more hyped on it. Again, I'm biased. I own two, but I waited until I saw the art. I waited until I confirmed to myself that they would be diverse enough before buying. Could have gotten it for a lot cheaper, as you know, but that's okay. I feel like this could be a marquee collection and the type of thing people are waiting for. And one last thing I'll say in this, I tweeted about this. We've talked about it. Things will not go to crazy prices like 50 ETH in the bear market. It's just not going to happen. Literally nothing. Go back, look at the charts. CryptoPunks didn't go to 50 ETH in a bear market either. Nothing does. So the absence of crazy meteoric price rises doesn't mean that it won't happen later if that's all you're looking for. But I think you can just focus on the facts here and your eye and to some extent the market reaction. Now, if it doesn't catch your eye, that's totally fine. I get it. But I can tell you it's catching a lot of people's eyes enough to justify this price, even in this market. And last thing I'll say is very few people are listing these who have revealed them. People are keeping them, and I can see why. So that's my enthusiastic case for Winds of Yawanawa over. Let's move on.
Yeah, I'll say real quick,
sorry.
one point that I have is I think it was Pri from Flamingo tweeted about this, but like she said something along like Beeple, Rafiq, Wengen art, and it's alluding to the fact that, like, again, to me, the way I interpret it is like we're still early, right? Like there's people like Rafiq and Beeple setting the stage for a greater appreciation of digital art, and it's only a matter of time before people start to get red pilled. So it's again, I mentioned on our Marfa recap, but we're still early. But man, things like this give me more and more conviction. That's why I'm long term crazy bullish.
Yes, 100%. Let's talk quickly about Uncomputer. This is a group exhibition that happened with some great artists here noted on screen, notably Math Castles, Kim Assendorf, Rodexane, Yazid, Stevie P, Rope, etc. But what was kind of cool about this is that this was it was on Unit London, but it was curated by Graylers DAO. I love to see that, this is the promise of Web3. You have a group of people across the world, don't really know each other, come together, do some cool stuff together, advance the mission. And I didn't actually get a chance to, to look at all of the art here. Oftentimes these Unit London deals are already sold behind backdoor deals, which is fine, but that makes me a little less motivated to jump on top of it. But I did like these Rodexane Hexatories here, all of which were pretty much sold to Graylers DAO members who are obviously avid art collectors. Any thoughts on this release, Jared?
Just to reemphasize what you were stating, it's cool to be able to see the partnership between Graylers, and there's just so many big brains in that space, especially on their curation board. That it's very encouraging to see this, and I love the artist that they selected, and I love the artist that got emphasized. So overall, I'm just like super pumped by it, and again, just to reiterate what you're saying, really dope to see the entire community come together and to be supported by Unit London and others.
Absolutely. The last release we wanted to hit on is Because Until by Ixnay OK. The most recent art box curated came out Wednesday, the 11th of October. And it got to the resting mint price of 0.11 ETH, and then sold pretty quickly from there. Most of them sold at that price. So, the market was savvy in waiting to get and pay less total, even though it was a rebate Dutch auction. So everyone paid the same. I've been hearing some great stuff about it. The art is really cool, and it has what's really interesting here. In addition to the visuals, is that it changes all the time. And Jared, I was gonna ask, I forget how often they change, but I think they change daily in subtle ways, and then every once in a while they have like a fiesta day where they go crazy. And these mechanics are actually quite similar to Gazers, but obviously different visuals, different art, and then the way it changes and when it changes is not the exact same. But in full disclosure, I did pick up one of these at the mint. Any thoughts on this one, Jared?
I really appreciate Ixnay's work. Such an amazing individual. I've gotten to know the artist behind the work. I would just say that similar to a lot of dynamic art. Click into it as we're doing on screen right now. Find some characteristics that you actually enjoy. I mean, there's a really attractive entry point here. The floor's sitting at 0.15. So yeah, there's a really great opportunity to really click into it and enjoy it. I really, really think that there's great art here and on screen. So Ixnay is awesome. If you believe in the longevity and the artist behind it, really good opportunity here, in my opinion.
Yeah, and yeah, it's supposed to be 650 pieces. I don't know why it says 624 here on OpenSea, but with that many pieces, it has lowered the price, but that's an opportunity. I mean, this is still an Art Blocks curated release, and I actually think it's quite good art if you are into this style, and the variety is nice, and it's very thoughtfully done. So I think a great collection. Congrats to Ixnay. I agree. He's awesome. A chance to meet him, and congrats to everybody else involved in that release. Okay, so let's do some generative art news. I'm just going to show this, even though this isn't really the headline story. This is a release called Contractual Obligations by Matt Kane. We didn't get a chance to talk about this, but last week, Matt Kane released this collection as part of his contractual obligation to the super rare team due to the rare pass. He was one of the artists. Now, as you know, Jared, I've talked about this. I have a lot of thoughts on this, but the short version is Matt was not super happy with the super rare teams. You know what? Actually, why don't you tee it up? Because you listen to the spaces. Jared, what happened on that spaces that, from your perspective, that Matt was kind of upset about with the super rare team, leading him to release this piece of artwork, which features a lot of burning bridges and clearly is making a statement, which was the talk of the town for the last week, although it has slowed down a bit. But from your perspective, what really was the issue that Matt had with the rare pass?
Well, I'll premise it as during the spaces, he never like outwardly came out and said super rare bad, but he did he read a couple excerpts from The Great Gatsby and then went into, the observation of this being performance art. I think it became a very interesting dynamic on the spaces when another artist challenged Matt about the intent behind the art and not my words, but the quote unquote low effort approach. And then there's like all this debate about whether this is Act One. It's titled Act One, so is there more to come? Matt was referencing to the name of the contract as a hint for what may be to come. So there was just when it all came around to it, I think what happened on the spaces is a lot of conflict. And for me, and I'll be full disclosure, I'm a little bit biased because with 8nap art, my intent is always to say I'm artist first. But what I took away from the spaces is Matt advocating for platforms being less transactional and being able to bring something to the table to support the artist. And he makes reference to Proof and Grails 3 and the amazing job that they did for highlighting his piece out of Grails 3 and the attention that it garnered. So I think that the expectation going into something, maybe a Gazers or even what the release he just did on Manifold, which are the names, the Anons, they were like, these are quote unquote traditional Matt Kane pieces versus what was produced. And so I think that the divergence in expectations and what was delivered created a pretty substantial conflict. And I truly do believe Matt's a big brain, and it created this. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, right? I don't want to take that position, but I do think it created a dialogue. And if that is what he truly intended, damn, did he deliver, man. So overall, I think that, he's highlighting a need for more artist support in the process. And my hope is that there's more to come as a result of this. And I'm curious to see what that is, if there is more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that, because I wanted to be clear about what I am editorializing versus what is factually happened, right? Or what I am not editorializing, what I am bringing that is my own opinion. So a couple of things. First of all, this art, there is going to be some kind of act two. He already announced he's going to airdrop another piece to all the holders of this. So this art looks like primarily Mid-Journey made, and clearly not a ton of variety in this, but it wasn't supposed to be. This is really supposed to be a placeholder. So Matt is not doing his collectors dirty, which was my only real concern when I initially heard about it, but very quickly it became clear that's not the case. On the point about artists and platforms and truly collectors and platforms, I don't disagree with him. I've had this conversation privately. I've spoken with many platforms about it. I get that everyone in the industry, or at least a lot of people in the industry, are feeling the squeeze of a down market. However, I think platforms are particularly vulnerable because it's hard to replace a Matt Cain. It's actually not that hard to replace a platform that allows an artist to mint on the blockchain. In fact, it's called Art Blocks Engine. They're giving everybody the capability. So platforms, you're just more of commodities than good artists, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just is what it is, unless you bring the technological chops to differentiate yourselves, or you're a first mover, or whatever, right? Just like any business. I heard from the grapevine, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that the Super Rare Pass artists agreed to do it to help Super Rare out as a fundraiser because their business model was not doing great. And if that's true, again, I don't know. If that's true, I think that's just a terrible deal. The artist never should have taken it. I get that once you take it, it's over, but they are a business that is venture backed. They can go get more money from investors. You are risking your career. It just doesn't, it's not the same thing. If I don't know if it's true, but if it is, I'm kind of shocked that they even asked the artist for that, because it's, this is business. Either you make it work or you don't. You say, good game, I lost, let me try it again. Like, that's how it works. But companies will do what they got to do to survive. Why not just get some more money from investors? Maybe dilute your shares, or maybe the investors didn't want to touch the company anymore because it was clearly not working, in which case, why go get money from artists? You're just throwing good money after bad. It just didn't make sense to me on a lot of levels. I hope that wasn't the case, and it wasn't supposed to be a fundraiser. But if it was, please, artists, do not ever, ever, ever do anything like that. Do not do it for free. It is not worth it.
Yeah, my takeaway is this: it has to be a two-way street, meaning like it can't be transactional in either direction, and each party, just like any good relationship, has to extract value. And to me, value can be in a number of different ways. And I think a lot of artists came out, just to counterpoint what you were saying, is that they got their start on Super Rare, so they felt, compelled to help, albeit for whatever reason.
Yeah, I know, but sorry, like Super Rare also got something out of that. So it was already, you don't have to do more than you already did. But you made great art. But sorry, I'll stop.
No, it's all good. I think if somebody's willing and able to do that, and they look, we're obviously not privy to all of the different stuff, but if there was like full transparency around like that ask, and artists willingly did it, that's one thing, right? But I think what to come back full circle on this contractual obligations, to me, it's highlighting the need for the two-way street of support. And that to me was my main takeaway, and I will just say, like, whether you agree with it or not, kudos to Matt for having the courage to daylight some of this stuff and, stoke a conversation. I mean, look at this, like, here we are talking about it for an extended, period of time, and it's weeks after it actually happened. So, I mean, at the end of the day, whether it was performance art or just sheer bitterness, I'm not able to speculate on because I haven't dug too deep into it. But the reality is that it highlighted something and the marketplace is talking about it. And I think overall that is positive.
Yeah, it certainly uncovered an important topic. I agree with you, but we will not belabor the point because we also have more show. So quickly, we've alluded to this a couple of times, but the MoMA Museum of Modern Art, New York City, considered a top tier museum in the world, has added Rafik Anadol's unsupervised MoMA, into their permanent collection, as well as Ian Chang's Three Face. And the permanent collection is sort of the highest tier for a museum. There's one thing to have an exhibition, it's a whole nother to be in their permanent collection. It's the first time that the MoMA has done this for any artwork that is NFT of origin. And I won't belabor this point. It's obviously amazing for the artists and the art itself, but I think what maybe is being missed a little bit from the dialogue is that this is just unbelievably big for the technology. And I think that there's a lot of takes out there that are like, well, digital art's been in here before. Why is this such a big deal? It's like, no. The big deal is the validation of the technology that is allowing this Web3 art world to exist. That's my headline, at least. What are your thoughts, Jared?
My thoughts are very much aligned. I mean, I alluded to it earlier. I think this is the fact that such a powerful institution is moving this into a permanent collection is just overall bullish long term. I think it's a great. Is it the tipping point? It doesn't feel like it that we're all looking for, but it's a great data point in that journey towards the validation of everything that we know and love. So overall, I'm just super like elated that this happened, and kudos to the one of one team for not only facilitating the placement but then the permanent placement. So just an overall, I'd be remiss if we didn't do a hats off to just what a great steward they are of this space and the generosity that they're bringing to the space overall.
Absolutely. I mean, congrats to everybody involved, and a thank you for what it really is a milestone. I don't think people realize how much that changes your mind. It's kind of like you remember, you probably know the story, Jared. It's like for a long time nobody thought that anyone could break a 5-minute mile like running, and then somebody broke it, and then like a bunch of people started breaking. Or maybe it was a 4-minute mile. It was probably
The
4-minute
mile, and then it was like
Yeah.
within 3 months, like it happened like a dozen times. And actually, it's funny you bring that up because like somebody almost just broke the 2-hour marathon point by a 23-year-old. And so I think it's like it's that constant like line in the sand and challenging it and going past it to give others permission to do so. And I really do believe that this with MoMa and Rafiq is one of those moments.
100%. Well, let's talk about some great art, great prices. Got a couple for
Great
you
prices.
here.
Composition by Studio Yorktown to carry upon that theme. You know, again, this is it's really hard to find this one. It's an async blueprints. You know, if you have any inclination to even look at it, go into the show notes. This is incredible. But it's called Composition by Studio Yorktown. There's 512 pieces because there's a 0 mint. The floor is at 0.14 ETH. So again, pretty affordable and attractive entry point, really beautiful outputs. In my opinion, it's very analogous to Saber, one of Bruce's first releases. But again, these just like are, to me, is a unfound gem, and especially coming off the tweet from Blockstar. Really dope pieces here if you believe in it. So I just thought I'd highlight this. Full disclosure, I own a considerable amount of these, but it's because I love what Bruce does, and a really thin floor, not a lot available. So getting diamond handed, honestly.
These would look great on as textiles, like quilts
And printed.
as well. Yeah,
you print it on the right textured paper. I mean, you see it inherently there. It's stunning.
absolutely.
Next is Strata by Bjorn Isakin. We've highlighted their recent release, but I say this, it's 650 piece art blocks presents. It's just a fun collection overall. It's one of their first releases. The floor is sitting at 0.065. And there's some pretty beautiful pieces. I know the collection pretty well because, again, full disclosure, I own some. But you look at some of the rarities, there's some really great deals out there, and aesthetically they're very beautiful. So again, really attractive price point, under $100 if you want to hang something on your wall. Really great opportunity.
Oh, look at this one. Never seen that before. Wow, really cool.
Yeah.
Well, one that I wanted to highlight is just kind of tiptoeing at our great art at great prices threshold here, actually right under it. But it's Factura by Matthias Isakin, also another Isakin. And this is one that Chris Blockster did actually highlight on his tweet. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, like, thank you for bringing it back up. It's one of my favorite collections. And this to me is generative art done just right. 1,000 pieces, great variety. All unique. I don't think there are really any bad outputs here. Big fan of it. Full disclosure, I own a bunch of these, but that's because I love it. And as I was reflecting on this one, Jared, I think this collection truly suffered from the drop dynamics not being optimal. And what happened was there were a bunch that went to pass holders that were trading on secondary, and then it opened to the public, but it was a fixed price, so it got botted just immediately, and it kind of lost a lot of momentum. But only 4% listed, really beautiful outputs. If anyone is in the market for one and wants some advice, DMs are open. Happy to tell you which ones that I think are the best. And let's move over to some exciting upcoming releases here. The first one is I don't know if this is supposed to be something you can say, but 3 dashes, 3 forward slashes by Snowfro. Now, this is not art that's technically out yet. So this is part of the Red Bull Racing Velocity Pass series. Snowfro is their third artist, but the way that they're doing this is there's 2,000 pieces on the 18th of October in real life, probably in Austin, Texas, with the Austin Grand Prix. 300 of these are going to be, I don't know if they're sold or given away, but you have to be there in person. So it's not really meant for the Web3 crowd. However, these are coming off the Artblocks engine. They were all minted off the Artblocks engine, and therefore we can see the mints. This is the power of the blockchain. So now we have a sense of what they look like. There's going to be 2,000 of these. So then the following week on the 25th of October, all of the Velocity Series pass holders will get one for free. And then 700 will go to Dutch auction. The Velocity pass holders who do not claim, and listen, pass holders, you only have 1 hour to claim it. Unfortunately, we're sort of pushing on the team to change that, but that's the current state. Any remaining will go to the Dutch auction, so it might be more than 700 at the Dutch auction. Don't know the details of that yet. What does it start at? Is it rebate, etc.? But this is the art. Those are the details. Would love your thoughts on the art, Jared. And I'm going to show you all the animation, which is a big part of it. I think it's meant to be animated.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the shapes I think are analogous to like markings on the racetrack, which is cool to be able to tie it back to, I think, the heritage of the project. I think my observation is that there's also, can you go down to the traits? I'm curious. My observation is that there's, yeah, see, that's a hyper. So there, again, for the throughput of some of the coloring from Snowfro's stuff is, I think that there's very much reminiscent of Chromie Squiggle coloring, but some of these hyper ones, man, they're honestly, they're pretty exciting. Those are the ones that, given the rarity, I'd be looking and targeting, not to give away all my alpha, but there's a couple outputs that I'm like really deeply starting to look at. But yeah, I mean, look at that right there, the type. These, even naming them Straight Away and Chicane and stuff, like it's racing. Like I love the throwback to it. I love the idea that 300 are going towards people at the race, trying to onboard more people into the space. And again, just a overall observation that Snowfro's out there trying to onboard more people and really expand our space, which I admire.
And these all come with some physical, by the way, and we don't quite have the details on that yet. I hope it's a racing jacket as a holder of the Velocity Series pass, but we'll see. We'll see. The next big release that we wanted to talk about here is William Mapan has 2 releases coming up, actually. One of which is Through Your Eyes, shown on screen here. There are 8 one-of-ones, all individual auctions that start on November 13th. So that's a little ways out, but also with verse. Coming up sooner is Sketchbook A. There is, on the 16th, there'll be an auction that starts, and the top 64 bidders will win a mint pass. Then they get to play around with these outputs and save one of the outputs, and then mint that onto their mint pass, or if they have multiple mint passes, they can do multiple. That's the dynamic. I don't think you can play around with these yet. I've been really wanting to. It looks like here on the website that you can't, but I'm hearing some pretty good reviews about it. And William, in his classic style, is making something that we normally see done by hand, creating that with code, which is cool to see, different than Distance, which felt more like painting. And I'm getting out of my depth on physical art creation techniques here, but it looks like kind of crayons to me. No, not crayons, pencils, colored pencils. What are your thoughts on this one, Jared, or either of the two?
Yeah, no, I prefer the sketchbook personally. I always love the idea of non-curated and letting the algorithm speak. But Verse has been teasing out a bunch of outputs. I think that while we're not able to go in and play with the algorithm overall, like looking at it and seeing some of them, there's like good variety. There's monocolored one. There's a variety of them with different colors. So with there being only 64, I'm curious to see what the final resting price is, but I could see it definitely being over 2 ETH, probably closer to the 3. So, but I will not be buying one at that rate, but I do love Verse and I do love Williams' work. So I'm excited to see all of the final outputs on this one.
Likewise, likewise. And it'll be cool, honestly, just to play with the algorithm. And then I might even save a few I don't plan to mint for the same reasons, price reasons. But yeah, I think it'll be really cool to see. Last one. We don't know what the art looks like in this one, but Node to Node in Art Salon Paris, which is a group exhibition done with Kate Voss Gallery, as you can see in the URL, and curated by Le Monde 2D, a great collector here. We've got some of the best artists here: Cheto Golid, William Mapan, who we just mentioned, Iskra, Helena Sarin, who's an OG in the AI side, bunch of folks. So looking forward to that. And to purchase anything here, you have to kind of be in the know and reach out to either Le Monde or Kate Voss Gallery. I'm sure you could just DM them. You may need to be KYC'd. I'm actually not inquiring anything here, but this should be a really exciting exhibition nonetheless. And I'm really cool to see the work and the curation by Le Monde. All right, Jared, let's round it out with some artists to highlight. It's been a long episode, but it's been a lot to talk about. First artist I want to mention is Jared Tarbell, excuse me. And Jared is in this exhibition, Node to Node. And, really interesting. I didn't know a ton about Jared before. Actually, one of the Collectors Corner Premium community members educated me on his background. But Jared actually was one of the co-founders of Etsy. I don't know exactly when he left, but is really a great data scientist and engineer, it sounds like. And in 2003, created a work that has called Substrate that seems like it was a seminal collection for a lot of the generative artists, including Dimitri Cherniak, Matt Deloria, and Tyler Hobbs, who have all said they were influenced by some of his work. Now, I couldn't find a Twitter handle for Jared. That's why I'm linking to this page, but his works, they look great. I don't know if these are going to be NFTs or only sold as physicals. Like I said, we'll get more details there, but wanted to highlight Jared because really cool artist and one I didn't know about. It's always nice to get exposed to new folks. I'll throw it over to you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jared.
Does it to round it out? A common theme for me is this week is Bruce with Studio Yorktown. Just highlight him as an artist. I mean, absolutely stunning work. It's not just it's spurred on by the Tesseract sales this week, but he has 8 different collections on fxhash. We mentioned one on ETH. And then, there's if you go on object, there's you see it up on screen. There's a ton of editions that are throwbacks and collabs with the Tesseract kind of as the baseline for it. But overall, man, just Bruce is doing some great work. Yeah, I mean, look at that stuff up there. I mean, I love these Tesseract collabs. I mean, they're beautiful. They integrate in a lot of different stuff. And look at the price on these, man. Like 40, 50 Tez. Like these are such an attractive price point if you don't want to spend up for the full Tesseract and you want some exposure. I mean, even one of the other ones that's fairly successful is the Perpendicular Inhabitation. And that has 170 Tez floor. Some really great buys there if you're felt like you missed out. Some really great pieces sitting close to the floor. But overall, dude, I Bruce is doing amazing work. A great designer in general, great eye. So be remiss if we didn't at least give him a spot to say he's more than a Tesseract. He's more than some of this other stuff. Just an overall, check out Studio Yorktown. They're a design studio, and Bruce is doing amazing work.
Awesome. Well, thank you for highlighting him. And I am continue to be just glad that you share your passion for him. This is what it's all about, folks. So if you have some artists that you want to highlight, just let us know. This has been our show. We really appreciate you and being patient with the week off. As I mentioned earlier, if any of you are interested in Collectors Corner Premium, please reach out, DM me. If you're interested in 8nap art, reach out, DM Jared. Jared, any last words?
I will just say that the mint pass is open. Again, not to belabor a point, but if you feel so inclined or our discussion about Matt Cain hit an emotional vibe, just know that 8NAP Art is going to go above and beyond for this artist support. And one of the ways to support the platform and the artists is through our pass. It's 1 ETH. I would appreciate any support. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me directly, because we can talk about any of the details. Happy to hop on a call, happy to talk and share my passion.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Jared. Well, that's it, everybody. Appreciate you all. Check out the newsletter. We'll be back next week. Hope you all have a good day. Thank you for tuning into Collector's Corner. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen. If you like this episode and want to help us out, please subscribe and leave us a review on your podcasting platform of choice, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on YouTube. Please also follow us on Twitter for announcements as we expand to other social and content platforms. Our Twitter handle is @collectors_XYZ. We'd also love to hear any feedback you have, so please comment or reach out. We're always striving to be more useful and get better so we can help you in your collecting journey. The Collector's Corner team and their guests are not registered investment advisors. All views expressed on this podcast are personal opinions and are not specific inducements to make particular investments or investment strategies, and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. This show is solely for informational and entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, please consult a professional.